right, hello. Welcome back to Otis Frampton Live. Another week of Otis Frampton Live. I say that like it's weird saying it in the third person, but it'd be even weirder if I said me live, right? All right, let me just make sure the audio is good. Seems like the audio is very good. Very good. Okay, so as you can see today, and so I've been doing the Makin and Talkin comics live streams the last few weeks, and I've made it sort of a regular deal to do it Mondays and Fridays, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I work on commissions. I just realized something. One second. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so today I'm working on what is the cover of issue 3? Is it issue 3? No, issue 2. Sorry. Issue 2 of Patrick Grill of Oz. And you can probably tell from the title. For the old title, or for the title for the first issue, I had it really big. I wanted it that big to, make an impact, make sure people saw the Oz, but also it worked for the competition. But for the, I'm going to be moving the title around just to accommodate, whatever I have to do for each issue. And this issue, I really wanted to have a lot of stuff on the cover, so I ended up having to squish it down to there. So today I'm just going to start working on the colors. I got it all inked, and my wife flatted it, and she sent me a little message here on the flats, missing the other. She said hand, but she meant like the ruffles. So I forgot to put it here. She's nice like that sometimes. She'll put little messages in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is fix that, and then we can move on. I already have a color overlay. Here it is without the color overlay, just the flats. Here's the color. I might change that moving forward. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the colors, if they're going to be just exactly like they are in the book, because I'm also thinking of maybe making this a whole page in the book, in the comic, because the first page starts this way, and it would make a nice transition from that big panel to this panel. So I might actually make it a page when it comes to doing the collected version. All right, so let's make that fix. Let's throw down this, create a couple new layers, go up and grab my blue. Let's make sure I'm using the right thing here. Oh. Yeah, works fine. So go in with the ink. Actually, let's another one there. Look, it's all right. So got that done. Now go in and erase away the stuff we don't need anymore. And drag this layer down, merge it down. You need to touch up just a little bit. Whoop. Let's go back to the right layer. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, turn that scrim off. Sample this color, put that back on. Oh, looks like I forgot to, looks like I missed a bit there. Just a reminder, if you're watching, if you're in the chat room, please feel free to say hello. I'm watching the chat as always. I'll have to touch up the line art a little bit after I finish shading this. Still some fragments of the old. Why is it doing that? Oh, I know why. Okay. All right, fixed it. Actually, I want to do one more thing to fix it. Well, two more things. Let's just want to nudge this a little forward. Here we go. I gotta fix that. Now it's fixed. That's better. All right. Job done. What was this? Empty layer. Okay. All right. So now I can just get into coloring. And let me bring up my reference. As always, I use an app called VizRef to have my reference in a side window or panel or whatever Apple calls it these days. This cover is based on this first sort of illustration I did of Dr. Pipt, and that one ended up going into one of the pages, although I re-inked it, but basically same thing. But I want to use this as reference for coloring for the most part. Although I noticed some things. You know what? Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just kind of use the light. I use in the actual comic pages. I use the light. So I use the bubbling up from the pots as sort of a light source because it glowed a bit. So that's what I want to do. I'll just stick with what worked. So go in there, select my flats. Oops. They're in the wrong. Oh, I have them on the wrong. I didn't put them in the right layer order, but now they are. Now everything's good. All right, let's try that again. And actually, bring up this. This will help me a little bit more with getting the lighting right. So if you've watched before, you always know I kind of always start with the faces of the characters, no matter what I'm working on. If it's the pencils or the inks, I tend to start with the faces because that's where the reader's eye will be looking. And so I want to get that right before I move on. I don't know how effective that is at getting things, quote unquote, right. But it's what I do. I'm much more concerned with. Let me fix something real quick. I forgot I had to do something. for me, oh, come on, man. For me, it's all about story, and stories are about characters. So character is story. That's the way that's my philosophy on it. So you should always. I think that's one reason I always put my focus on the characters at the beginning of the process. Whoops. Layers. Got to be on the right layers, right? Just noticed another thing that my darling Mrs. missed. Sorry, I'm being so quiet. I was just concentrating. You know how it is. So this is, like I said, a Makin and Talking Comics episode of Otis Frampton Live. So I will. What did I do here? I will be at the 45-minute mark. I'll be switching over to talking about a comic that means something to me. That meant a lot to me. And if you follow me on Twitter, you already know what comic series it is, but I'll keep the mystery alive for now. This comic is going to be one of the first comics that ever really sort of made me appreciate comics. It's not as important as X-Men 174, which I talked about on a previous episode. That one was really important. That was the first sort of all right, well, I'll just say it. The comic today is G.I. Joe. And when I was a kid, I read the G.I. Joe and Star Wars comics because they were tied to things that I already loved. But I didn't really think of myself as a comic fan, and I didn't buy comics outside of those issues or those series. But I think that I'll stop talking about that now because then I'll have nothing to talk about later. This character is named Dr. Pipt. He's a new character to the Oz series, starting in book 7, which is the Patrol Girl of Oz. But he's tied to other characters through what he does, which is right now. You see him here. He's actually making a batch of the Powder of Life, which has been used to bring other Oz characters to life in previous books. Most notably, I gotta fix something here. Jack Pumpkinhead, who is in the second book, I think he was in another book after that, but yeah, I'm sure he was. At least one book. But that's the book where you see him being born and sort of you see his origin and how he's used. But apparently Dr. Pip makes the Powder of Life and provided it to, what's her name, Mombi? So that's what I'm working on right now. Dr. Pip making his Powder of Life, which takes. He's also known as the Crooked Magician. And you can see he's very crooked. He's got to stir all those pots at the same time to make sure that the Powder of Life is made. It takes 6 years to make. Crazy, right? His poor wife. I mean, I thought my wife had it bad with me being a comic artist because, we can be pretty obsessive too. I just realized that so I listen to music in my headphones while I'm doing these live streams, and basically my headphones are connected to one of my Macs, not the one that I'm streaming from. It's sort of my old Mac, but I use it for certain things like media streaming. But right now I'm listening to a playlist of like 100 songs from 1983, which coincidentally is the year that the comic that I'll be talking about later is from. I just realized that. What a weird coincidence. That's pretty cool. Sometimes things rhyme, you know what I mean? Get rid of that. Starting to come together. I apologize for being so quiet, but I guess I'm just focused. If you're in the chat room and you'd like to chat with me or say something or have a question or a comment or limerick, anything really, feel free. I don't think I like that rim light there. Yeah, that's better. I think this foot will have a little bit of rim lighting on both feet because of where it's placed. Oh, look at that. I forgot to ink something there. Let me come back and fix this. Where was I? Oh, foot. Get back to the foot. This is the part, I said it before, and it's true. This is one of the parts that I like the best about when I'm working digitally here, because it's the part where forms sort of take shape. Because as I've also said before, I don't do a lot of spotting of blacks in my work, and so it takes the color does the heavy lifting for bringing out shape and form. I mean, I try to make my work as dimensional as possible, but it really is the coloring where things start to feel right to me. I think I'll take a different approach to this. No, I'll do that. It's fine. I'm going to do this time. Use a little more of a textured charcoaly brush for the shading on the pots. Yeah, I'm going to keep it there for now. Now there's going to be, as you can see here, there's going to be like flame stuff in here. I got to do some effects work. But I'll finish shading Dr. Pipped, and then I think we'll be able to call it a day for that, and I'll move on to talking about some comic, talking about a comic. All right, I'll do the secondary shading. Just hit a few spots here and there. Oh, just missed a spot. Oh, no, I didn't. There. Whoops. Let's get that right. There we go. That's better. Okay. Oh, I guess I can get rid of my wife's little note. Goodbye note. I'll just add a couple of little things and then I'll be shifting gears. Got about, I got a little time left. I can touch up some other areas too. All right. I think we'll call it a day there. This is as far as I've gotten on the colors for the cover to The Patchwork Girl of Oz issue 2. Still a long way to go. I do want to do some, need to cut away some of the, or create new, what am I trying to say? I should have drawn some of the stuff on different layers because now I got to cut it away because I want to do some sort of haze effects between the stoves and the pots. But I'll do that off the show. Maybe get this more prepped so that I can come back and maybe finish it next week on, or either Friday or next Monday. I just noticed something. Gotta fix. All right, so that's all for that. Let me just get rid of that. get rid of that and open up this. There it is. So it's time to talk comics. This is G.I. Joe issue 16. And as you can see, I do have, you can see this on the camera. So you can see I do have the actual issue, but it's not in good shape. And the pages are a bit faded, and I didn't think it would show up that well on camera. So I have like the first 30 or so issues of G.I. Joe. I bought the collected volumes, first 3 volumes on iBooks a long time ago during a sale. It's like one of the only comic series that I have on iBooks and not Comixology. So I thought I'd use the comics or the digital version to show you the comic as I go through it. And this is, I think I'd already started buying Star Wars comics before this, but it was 1983. Star Wars was sort of over. I didn't know what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden I discovered G.I. Joe. These giant sections of the toy aisle suddenly filled with G.I. Joe action figures and toys, and I got into that. And one day I saw this on the spinner rack, and I picked it up. It's number 16. I didn't know that. I had no idea that this issue was the culmination of many plot lines that had been building over the last 16 issues, really the last 15 in some ways, because issue 1 was so separate from everything. But issue 2 began somewhat of a continuity when it introduced the character of Quinn the Eskimo, and this was the culmination of a lot of plot lines. And so I didn't know that going in. I just sort of read it, on its own without knowing, and it ended on this amazing cliffhanger, this issue, and sort of tied up some loose ends from all these great storylines and began some new ones. And so by the first issue, so the first comic the first artist I experienced on G.I. Joe, Mike Vosburgh. He's not like the flashiest comic artist, but really does a great job, I think, on G.I. Joe. He really gets the job done. Draws all the characters on model. Draws all the vehicles look great. They look just like their toy counterparts. So that was good for me coming from the toys. But like just in terms of the visual storytelling, Larry Hama, the writer, packs a lot into each issue, a surprising amount into each issue. So like something that me or a more modern comic artist would take pages to draw, this sort of interaction, this little battle scene here, even though it's it's a fake battle, obviously, but he does it in 5 small vertical panels, and it's really effective storytelling. One thing I like about Mike Vosburgh's storytelling approach and layouts is you can always tell what's going on. You're always aware of the geography and where the characters are. I like simple comic storytelling. Like that's one reason I like Bones so much. It's very, very straightforward, very classic, and I like that a lot. I love this panel here. It might be a simple thing, but it starts here where you're almost like if it's a movie, you would just see this part here, and then like the hand comes into frame and it pans over. I think that it's really great that he's able to go from what is essentially a medium shot on these guys, but then it's almost like the camera pulls back all of a sudden, and it's a wide shot with this character in the foreground. Really, it's pretty good. It's really good. This is really cool too. This is a great way to introduce characters too. I already knew the characters from the action figures, but these small panels here, 6 of them, man, he crams so much, and all that dialogue too. You get a nice close up of all the characters, and 2 of them, I guess, I didn't know from the toys, Scarface and Dr. Venom. Yeah. No, I don't know. His name? Forget. So there's a lot of story in this issue, a lot of story. Like I said, it's tying up some storylines. There's so much going on. Look at these interactions with three different sets of characters going on. You've got to cram it all into one small panel at the bottom. Although there is a nice balance in this page. You got the two horizontal panels at the top and bottom, and the sort of Kirby-esque 4-panel grid here. It really, really works as almost like intercutting scenes in a movie. Really good stuff. Simple stuff, but really good. And here's a storytelling technique that I should probably do more in my work, where at the end of a page, instead of having the last panel on the page be the last panel in a scene and then having the page turn be the reveal of a new scene, he has the first shot, the first panel of a new scene as the last panel on the page. That's also really effective because it's sort of like it teases the next page. Even though it's just a wide shot of the Capitol building, that's really good stuff. I gotta remember that. And then a big push in. And here's another thing that I try to incorporate when I can into comic panels. It's very important. And illustrations, foreground, midground, background. It's got it all right here in this one shot. Really great stuff. Same with this. Although the coloring, the basic flat coloring of the 80s, it's harder to differentiate. It'd be easier now, given different color temperatures. And here he did it again. We cut to the next scene on the last panel. Really good stuff. I really like Mike Vosburgh's pencils for this era of G.I. Joe, for the simplicity of it. It almost looks like the action figures sort of come to life in its basicness. He really stuck to the model. Really fun stuff. Oh, and I think I've seen him do this in other comic pages where he'll do a long panel down the side and then multiple panel grid here. That's really, really cool. I got to remember that too. This is one of the best things about looking at comics that you loved as a kid or growing up, or even comics you haven't looked at in a long time as a comic artist. You're reminded of the different ways to tell stories, to tell the story. The different ways to lay out pages, the different ways to organize panels and organize the characters and the subject matter in the panel. Like this one here, these two panels are very similar. They're both the same. They're both horizontal across the entire page and the same size almost. And it's a close up on Lady J, and then it cuts back to whoops. It's almost like again the camera basically pulls back to extreme, but it's almost the same shot almost because you're on the profile of Lady J. I think that's her name, Lady J. It's been a while since I've read G.I. Joe. Oh, and then as the story gets into its climax, you can see them cut Larry Hama and Mike Vosburgh in the storytelling, really extreme, cutting, so to speak, using film terminology, but panel to panel, you're going to different subjects, you're going to different places in the scene. This is a really great sequence too. The use of black here in the panels to frame the action. Especially here, he really knew what he was doing with this panel. Having the hand coming out just at the bottom and the rest of it being black, it's really effective. Same with this one, where he's using the entire length of the vertical length of the panel to show the gas, and your eye basically almost interprets it as flowing out because of that. Really good stuff. And then there's the very comic book way of using the lettering as the panel, but effective. Super effective. Really great stuff. Still cutting very fast again between scenes and sorry, but there's going to be a spoiler coming up, so if you don't want to know what happens in this issue, you might want to stop watching now, but we're coming up on the big, Hawk versus Cobra Commander. He jumps onto the the Hiss tank. I think it's a Hiss tank, and you get the big villain versus two villains actually. Hawk, the main character of the GI Joe team, versus the villains, really. And as a kid reading this, it was just pure story and action to me, and I was so into it, even though I didn't quite know the backgrounds of the story and why it was having it. And then all of a sudden, boy, here comes the spoiler. Cobra Commander has to shoot one of them because there's so much. It's great because there's so much duplicity between the Cobra characters. He has to decide which one to shoot, and eventually it's Hawk. And that's how the issue ended for me. I guess it was 20 or 22 pages, and I instantly went from being a fan of just the toys to being a fan of the story, and started buying G.I. Joe after that for every month. And it wasn't soon after that I bought X-Men 174 and really fell in love with the medium of comics. I was still treating this like an extension of my toy buying habits, but this and a couple other Star Wars comics were my first forays into reading comics. I really thought they were kind of stupid at the time, but yeah, this cliffhanger really got to me, and I remember buying this next issue. Really great stuff. All right, I love doing these look back, these segments where I look back on comics. It really fuels me. It's a great way to remind myself of what I love about comics and why I love comics. I hope you enjoy it too. I'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central again for some more work on, what is it? It's a commission work. I forget which one. Maybe the Captain America commission I'm working on. Whatever it is, I know it's a commission. I know it's 1 p.m. Central, and I hope to see you there. Please like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.